I'm really excited to welcome Sharlene Styles, my friend, holistic nutritionist, and we call her a metabolism mechanic, to this episode of the Midlife Reset Podcast. This is episode number 28, and we have a live audience. It's so exciting. And they have given us some wonderful questions about midlife metabolism, and we're going to tackle them one by one right now. Are you ready to dive in, Sharlene?
I'm ready, Cheryl.
Okie dokie.
Born ready.
Now, these are in no particular order, but the first one is from Cindy. And she says, can you please review the anti-inflammatory diet? Keen to know about nutrition and really yoga in general. So, do you want to start with that one? That's kind of your wheelhouse, Sharlene.
Well, I think it's kind of both of ours.
I
Yeah.
can do the yoga part.
Yeah. Interestingly, I'm also accredited in yoga. I just haven't taught yoga in many years, and this is really Cheryl's expertise. And Cindy, I'm so glad that you're here to hear this live, and I'll be interested in your feedback after we're done recording here. So we're talking about anti-inflammatory diet. From what I understand, you haven't undergone the operation yet. Is that right? Do I have that right, Cheryl?
I'm not sure. I don't have that information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just anti-inflammatory diet.
I see. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
No
Okay.
worries.
So anti-inflammatory diet, yeah. So we want to, it's so interesting, right? What can be inflammatory to one person can be not to another, depending on our overall toxic load. But if we're talking kind of general, which I suspect that's what we're doing, we're looking for things that are first of all, we'll start with whole foods that come straight from the earth. So plants first would be the most primary source that we can look for. We can also look for real fats, quality fats coming from olive oils, walnuts, wild fish, those types of things. Beans, legumes, vegetables, fruits. So things that are coming directly from the earth in their natural state that haven't been denatured or processed. So we want to avoid things that are ultra processed. So from meats to oils, high carbohydrates. When we think about grains, particularly here in North America, they've been adulterated in so many ways. Number one, how they're grown, but also when they come to us. They've been stripped of most often the most beneficial parts of the plant, which is the bran, the exterior coating, and also the germ, the inside, which is the fat and the oil. So we get what's left is the endosperm, and that work converts very quickly to sugar. So that creates inflammation in our system. So things that are high carbohydrate, wheats, breads, pastries, pastas, sugars, things that you know, turn to sugar quickly. I don't know many people that eat like just white table sugar per se, but there are a lot of foods that convert quickly in our system to glucose or to sugar. So we want to avoid those types of things. For some people, dairy can be inflammatory, and this is a bit of a double-edged sword. It not always is, and years ago, if you would have asked me as a nutritionist about dairy, I would have poo-pooed the whole thing. I see it a very different way now. So some people can be sensitive or dairy can cause inflammation. So that might be kind of a question mark. And I think we can't talk about inflammation without talking about alcohol. Also, how we eat. So it's not just what we eat, but when we eat in a way that is imbalanced or consistently, or eat high carbohydrate meals, that can create inflammation in our system as well. So too can stress contribute to inflammation. So I know that's a whole big uh, kind of basket of things that cause inflammation. There are others beyond diet, but I hope that answers the question about real whole foods. Yeah.
I have something I'll just throw out at you, Charlene. And I remember there was many of my yoga teacher friends that cut out all the nightshades thinking that they were inflammatory. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, it can be for some again, right? Not always for everyone. Yes. So same with the Brassica family for some people. Do we have hormone issues? Are there thyroid issues? Or is there adrenal fatigue? So that's why it's so nuanced, right? What is one person's medicine may be a poison to someone else. So we talk in very general terms. So what I was covering was kind of the most predominant basic level for most
Right.
people.
And then I think what we're kind of getting at here is that one diet is not perfect for all people. And, people write books and they put blogs out and they have this product they want you to buy and they'll solve all your world's problems if you take their anti-inflammatory diet. Now, here's another thing that was written in about too, was intermittent fasting. I read a book that promised me the world on a silver platter if I would starve myself for 36 hours straight. Could you talk about that, Charlene?
I like that term. I was promised the world if I starve myself. Yeah,
Mm.
all good things can happen. Again, to your point, there is no one right way for every person at every given state of time. I think the diet that works best for each of us is one that is sustainable and that's giving us the results that we want. Intermittent fasting does have a lot of science behind it. There are some really key benefits for intermittent fasting. If you go down this rabbit hole and just open the door, what you'll find is a lot of the studies that are done on intermittent fasting are done on men.
How
So
interesting. Yeah,
we operate very differently, right? We have different
totally.
muscle mass, we have different hormones. Everything internally is very different about us, male versus female. So what I often find is most women that are coming to me are exactly who's here today in our audience, midlife women that have some kind of imbalance already, whether that's metabolic imbalance, weight, hormone, etc. They're usually coming to me to try and solve something. So my perspective may be a little bit skewed because I'm dealing specifically with, a specific genre of women. And oftentimes when women are coming to me, one of the predominant factors is that they are already coming with chronic stress, accumulated stress over decades, and imbalances are already showing up in their system. So, particularly if there's a weight issue, what we've been conditioned to believe is we need to eat less and exercise more, which adds further stress. So, same with skipping meals. If we're already in a stress state and then you go for a long period of time without food, it's an additional kind of stressor, right? Your body is already taxed, and now you're asking it to perform. And often what I see is in effort to lose weight, we kind of follow the trends. What works for other people? Yeah, intermittent fasting. So I'm going to work out because I know I need to exercise more. I'm going to eat less, right? So I skip, which is, what we're led to believe. But if you're putting this high demand on your body, asking it to perform at a high level in a gym with no fuel, both of those things that's a double whammy. One, on an empty tank, we have no fuel. Two, we're asking to do high performance. The third thing that often happens, what I see, this may not be you or the person that asked this question, but oftentimes to have fuel in the morning, we drink a black coffee. And in the fasting world, black coffee without cream or sugar is okay because it's not breaking your fast. So guess what caffeine does to us? It's a stimulant, right? So it activates our adrenal glands, it produces more cortisol, produces more inflammation, it's more stress. So to an already stressed system, going without food for that duration, plus the coffee, plus the working out, is just the setup, I think, for a perfect storm. So the way that I work with my clients, this is my approach, and it may not be universal because nothing is universal for everyone. I work on balancing blood sugar to calm the nervous system, to get the body to burn fat, also for it to feel safe. Every 5-ish hours, I'm having my clients eat a meal. So that's providing safety to the system and kind of consistency that I know every few hours, this is just the routine. I don't have to struggle. I'm safe. I'm going to get fuel. So that's my approach. It's not that fasting won't work, but I think you have to think of all the other variables, your cortisol levels, your nervous system. Also, how are you nourishing your body with what foods? Oftentimes, what happens when people fast, they're just narrowing their eating window, right? So, what that does is that gives them carte blanche to eat whatever they want at any given time. So, we're not really paying attention, not so much to the caloric value, but how do these nutrients affect me? How is it affecting my metabolism? Am I getting the proper macronutrients? So oftentimes in a fasting situation, we're not really looking at the quality, we're just really shrinking our eating window, which really comes down to a caloric restriction, which can also be a detriment if you're in already a stress mode or if you have high levels of cortisol or chronic stress that's accumulated over decades. It's a long answer about fasting.
But it's got a lot packed in there.
I
And
think so.
I think it's really important to go back to what you said about something, your eating program being sustainable for you. So being promised that you're going to do this intermittent fasting or an anti-inflammatory diet for a set amount of time, you're going to get these results. The thing is that your nervous system can't adapt to change over a short window. So you're going to snap back to your old way of eating sooner or later. So you have to look at what works for your lifestyle, what's healthy for your body, what's going to work for your nervous system and your hormonal balance, and stick with that. You might not get results right away. It might not be dramatic, but you're working towards true wellness rather than just fitting into your mother of the bride dress or something like that. Okay. This is such a good question, but I do think we should move on. Comfort food. At the moment, I am struggling with comfort food. What can I eat that feels like comfort food? And because this person loves their baked goods, and you were saying they might be inflammatory, Sharlene,
Yeah.
but I want to really feed my body well. So, what's comforting and feeds my body well?
Hmm. Yeah, this is such an interesting question, and I wish we could have a two-way dialogue for me to, ask some additional questions about this question. And I hate to, answer a question with a question. The first thing that I would have this person or anyone else with this question consider is what makes the food comforting. So when we're tapping into a biological need, our basic need for fuel is to fuel our body to survive, right? So broccoli is not that comforting, maybe, same with chicken, not that comforting, but it does the job, right? So what's comforting about this particular food or ritual? Is it the actual substance? Is it the feeling? Does it take you back to a period of time in your life where you were rewarded or treated, or how somebody, you know, shared their love with you? Was it through baked goods? Was it your most comforting period of time? So I would really assess that emotional drive before the actual physical of like, how do I soothe it? So most often, what comes comfort to many of us are things that are carbohydrate rich, sweet, or creamy, or even when we think back to a child, they may be like milky or thick or gooey or like, do you know what I mean? I'm sorry to be so like graphic, but you know, like ice cream, right? Like that kind of texture. It's creamy, it's sweet, it's soothing. There's not a lot involved with it, right? So I think we have to consider the association that our brain has with the food first, and then look at the physical aspect of what you're really trying to replace. Are you really trying to replace the love that your grandmother gave you when she made you chocolate chip cookies, or in my case, cinnamon buns? My grandmother made the best cinnamon buns without raisins just for me. So cinnamon is my thing. Like I can forget about the cinnamon buns now, but that cinnamon gives me that warm, comforting kind of feeling. So I would say take a look at what that comfort thing is, and then how do we replicate that in a healthy way? There are so many options. My website is full of hopefully some good options and alternatives. And right now we have AI as our friend, right? Like we can certainly pop anything in there. But if you're looking at, if the question, Cheryl, if I have it right, is more like baked goods, is that right? Like
Yeah, we specifically mentioned breads, muffins, cookies, and squares.
breads, muffins, all the carbs and sugars. Darn it. Yeah. So we can have sustainable breads. They're probably not going to be the soft, gooey kind that are going to be the most supportive for us. But you can swap out bread like a rye bread that doesn't spike our blood sugar, that has a grain that hasn't been denatured like rye, European rye bread. I know that's not going to be the soft, fluffy white stuff that you can squeeze. But if bread is just the thing to have a sandwich, that might be it. Cookies, there are tons of cookie options that we can make that are a little bit more holistic, more natural with natural goods and products. And the other one was pastries.
Yeah, we
Pastries
breads, muffins, cookies, and squares. So
and
you
squares.
your website is full of good ideas.
Well, I
So
hope so.
yeah, along those lines.
I
And
hope
I
so.
think what you were talking about in terms of the emotional component of why we crave comfort food is so important. And this is where the mindfulness comes in and the recognition of why you're feeling the way you're feeling and what the feeling actually is. So having some sort of practice that helps you recognize how you're feeling before you indulge in the comfort foods and asking yourself, is there another way that I can achieve the feeling that I want to feel without going to, a cookie or a muffin. So,
Yeah.
and I think we both have options that people could look into around
Yeah.
supporting them through that journey.
And
Okay.
and if I just may add to
Yeah.
just a little tag on to that, innately having those kinds of things periodically in moderation and mindfully is not a bad thing. It's about being intentional and mindful and planning it, in my opinion. Like be deliberate about when you're going to have it
100%.
rather than just on repeat. It's not like you have to live your life in deprivation or restriction.
And I used to think it was a slippery slope and you were never allowed to have ice cream and you're never allowed to have birthday cake and you're never allowed to have chips. I
Right.
lost all that weight in 2024 and I had all of those things. But like you say, the key is to eat it mindfully,
And
plan
intentionally.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And,
not
and
on
separate away
autopilot.
the emotion around it, right?
Yeah.
That's key. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a question again. The benefits of the different types of collagen and how does that affect metabolism?
Yeah. Collagen, interestingly, it's getting a lot of spotlight lately, and for good reason, particularly for us mid-aged women, right? Because collagen tends to deplete over time. Collagen, though, is made, it's a protein. So when we're thinking about, there are many different types, well, there are basic three types, different types of collagen that we can be paying attention to, and they each do something completely different. My approach personally is I rotate through the different types of collagen that I add to my diet. For a long time, I didn't use collagen, but as a midlife woman, I think, all the help that we can get is beneficial. So the first thing you want to ensure is like collagen isn't, I don't know, it's not the magic bullet for anything. So we want to ensure that we're eating a diet that is already based in protein, has good amount of actual protein. So we're getting a variety of amino acids from a variety of different sources. That would be the foundation. So you don't you don't eat collagen to make collagen, right? Collagen is components that make up different building blocks in our system, right? Like you don't eat your fingernails to grow nails. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of
Yeah.
it's like that. So, three different types of collagen. One is type 1 is helpful and very abundant in our skin, in our bones, and in our tendons. Type 2 is like mostly cartilage, so that can be found in chicken, and that one particularly is good for joint health and joint comfort. If you have inflammation in your joints, that might be something to consider, or degradation of your joints. And type 3 is found in skin and vessels. So this usually comes from bovine sources. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog hacking. I hope you can't. I hope you can't. So I personally, I like to rotate through all of them just to get a variety. You don't have to do it that way. If you have a specific ailment or consideration or something that you're trying to shore up more, certainly you can focus on one. So type 1 would be more for skin, bones, tendons. And many of these come from bovine supplements. You can also get them from marine type of products. So same with everything. I think variety is best, personally.
And does it affect your metabolism when you suffer
Oh,
with
I'm sorry. That was
metabolic?
the second part to that
Yeah,
question. Yeah, so it indirectly it does. It's not, again, the cure-all, right? So the more muscle mass that we have, it increases our BMR, our basal metabolic rate. And you may have heard this stat already, if you've been diving into the health world. But as women, after the age of 30, we can lose up to 2% of our muscle mass per year, which is pretty significant. So, our job and our focus as we continue to have time pass is to not only maintain our muscle, but to build it or keep building it. So, collagen would definitely be a complement or a way to support muscle mass. So, that will indirectly help your metabolic rate per se. So this is one of the reasons why men tend to lose weight so much quicker is because they have much higher muscle mass than us women. So muscle is kind of the main reason how collagen would help is by building muscle. So the key with that is coming back to my initial point of making sure that you have a diet that's centered or balanced with protein. But not only that, is that that protein is being put to use to build strength, to build muscle. So you've probably heard a lot of people talking about all this protein intake, yeah, which is great, but you have to use your muscles to build the muscle to use the protein.
right.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us, that's one question I want to do, and then I have the yoga question right at the very end.
Oh, great.
I had a question from Marianne about bioidentical hormone therapy. Um, po Post-menopause. Now, there were guidelines that are widely understood in the medical community that if you're 10 years post-menopause, you shouldn't be on menopause hormone therapy, bioidentical or otherwise. This actually has been researched and challenged in the last little while. So, Marianne, in answer to your question, this is outside of my scope of practice, but I will tell you that if you go on the North American Menopause Society's website, which I believe is menopause.org, this is a collection of OBGYNs and other registered healthcare professionals throughout North America that have had additional training and sponsor additional research into the menopausal journey. And they have a wonderful set of patient papers that are very easy for people like us to read that outline the risks associated with menopause hormone therapy and really help to clear up a lot of the questions, including the cancer risk. I myself chose to go on menopause hormone therapy, and I joke with people that they'll pull it out of my cold, dead hands. And it's not that I'm saying that flippantly because I do a lot of work for my local cancer support center. I've been there for 15 years. I know exactly what the cancer journey looks like. And believe me, I wouldn't do anything that I thought might necessarily put me on that path. But I encourage you to look at your own research, and that's a great website to start with. There's not a lot of scare tactics. Most doctors are not well educated about midlife women's health. There's very little research compared to, say, a younger woman's fertility journey. There's much more research around that. So sometimes you have to have a few things in your back pocket when you go visit your doctor and be a little bit assertive. Sometimes when the doctor says to me, "Oh no, you got to do this," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, you're the doctor." But you might have to do a little research and be able to advocate for yourself. I hope that helps, Marianne. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you exactly what to do there. And then the last question that we have, Sharlene, is about gentle yoga, which is my jam.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes,
they
it
want,
is.
they want to know if it speeds up metabolism and if it's different than cardio and strength training. So, what a great question. And I'm so glad you asked it. Just before we push the record button, we were talking about whether restorative yoga, which is the kind of yoga where you lay around with pillows and blankets and just breathe, if that was going to be at all popular, if we're going to start selling out classes around that. And I'm so pleased to hear that it is gaining some traction, because I'll tell you, my friend, for midlife women, restorative yoga gentle yoga, the laying around breathing kind of stuff is the most important thing for weight loss. And it goes back to what Sharlene was talking about earlier about if you have a chronic stress lifestyle, and put up your hand if you do, because everybody does, even yoga teachers. If you live in the 21st century, you're under chronic stress and you need a reparative plan. I don't think many of us as midlife women are sleeping solid for 12 hours a night. Anybody? I'm not. That's for sure.
Oh.
And so we need a reparative plan. So I really want to encourage you to separate out your yoga practice from the fitness ideas, from all of that kind of pressure to burn so many calories, get in so many Ks, lift so many weights. Try to separate your yoga journey out from that so you can truly focus on the reparative and restorative benefits of a gentle or a stretching or a restorative yoga. The reason that this is so important is because if you bring that mindset onto your yoga mat about, well, is it going to close the rings on my watch? Am I going to get my fitness clicks today? Whatever it is, I don't understand all that technology, but I know all my students have it. Then that's what's going to be on your mind as you're going through your yoga stretches and your restorative postures or your shavasana. You're not going to be getting the full mindful benefit from your program. So cardiovascular exercise is extremely important. I don't mean to minimize it at all because we need to move. Our systems are meant to move. We need to get those fluids pumping. The minimum guidelines, according to most medical bodies, is 150 minutes per week. So if you had, say, a 30-minute walk with your dog 5 times a week, you're pretty much ticking cardiovascular fitness. Now, cardiovascular exercise as a standalone option to try to burn calories and lose weight is not a very good, it's a self-defeating sort of loop. Sharlene and I recorded 8 of the first podcasts in this series of the Midlife Reset, and we covered that in some detail in episode 2. I also have another podcast, I think it was episode 16, about cardio. So you can get more details because I don't want to take up too much time. So many of us are pushing to walk an hour and a half to get to 10,000 steps in. We're doing some crazy exercise class at the gym. You can probably take a lot of that off your plate and give yourself a lot of time back and just go to the standard cardiovascular fitness. Then strength training, as Sharlene was saying, we need to work to build muscle mass, preserve it and build it. Strength training is essential for mature women, 20 minutes, 3 times a week at minimum. But this is separate from your yoga journey. I really want to emphasize that yoga should be done for the nervous system regulation benefits. You will be exercising your muscles. You will be strengthening your bones. You will be building balance. You will be getting more muscle mass doing yoga. But for the real weight loss benefits, forget about all that and just focus on how do you feel? Do you feel yourself calming down? Do you feel that nice, relaxed sensation? How long does that stay with you post-class? That's what you're really looking for. You're looking for a very pleasant experience where you feel very relaxed. So I hope that clears up a lot of the questions that were sent in ahead of time. I know we have more questions with our live audience tonight. So I'm going to say goodbye to our podcast guests. I want you to check out the show notes in this podcast because I'll be putting a link to Sharlene's website where you can get some of those great recipes for foods that are comforting and not necessarily will obstruct your health journey. And I'm also going to put a link in the show notes to my She Mindfulness program, which is a step-by-step 6-month journey that leads you through yoga, meditations, mindset work, what's appropriate for every step of the way to help you find a healthier weight, to sleep a little better, and just to feel more yourself again in this midlife journey. So thank you so much to everybody for coming tonight, and we will definitely have a little bit more time to talk.
Thanks.
If you enjoy listening to this podcast, you'll really want to come to my live Q&A. This time, we do them every month, I'm going to be telling you what I do in the wee hours to get back to sleep. So So if you're a midlife woman struggling with sleep, please register October 22nd, 7 p.m. I'll put the link in the show notes. See you soon.